so I know to start. We had a great time in the chamber, by the way.
We did. It was
And
great.
thanks, Ken, for sharing your story. That was awesome.
Yes.
So here we go.
Okay, I think we're going.
We are ready to
Okay, we're
roll.
ready.
So
Okay.
welcome to Hyperbaric Plus again this week. And we just got out of the chamber, had some great conversations in there. Keith is bringing a tremendous amount to my clientele. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being here once a week. And in fact, I got a call today from one of my friends, said, when is Keith going to be trapped in the chamber so I can talk with him? So unfortunately, I told him. But anyway, so anyway, here we are. I'm Paul with Hyperbaric Plus. This is Keith with Prevail Over Cancer, and I'm glad you're here again. This week, we're going to talk about GLP products that you can enhance in your body naturally.
Right, yes.
People don't understand that we already make it.
That's right. And that's, matter of fact, I was kind of surprised. I wasn't aware, but I was looking back in research. Actually, researchers started looking at this, 25 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was a chemical that was known about that our body makes.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, then researchers with a drug company and drug companies started making synthetic versions of that that are called agonists. They help our body to make more of it or to attach to the cells and to work better. And primarily the purpose is actually to help lower blood glucose levels and for diabetes. And now people are taking it for other reasons than that. And so, and actually, I want to thank my granddaughter. So she's the one that brought this up a few weeks ago. She said, Papa, she's an adult. And actually, she's got 2 children, so I have great grandkids. And she said, Papa, I know people that are taking this, and I'm concerned about them, about taking the prescription products. Aren't there things that we can do to help that to work? Mm-hmm. And I said, yes, there are. But, I need to actually prepare some official recommendations for that and do some research on it. So, Nene, this is for you.
No, there you go.
So, wonderful young lady. So,
cool. Well, that's neat.
yeah. So, okay, we'll get started.
One of the other deals that we want to do right about now is Keith is a clinical nutritionist. He's not your doctor.
Right. Yes,
so what he's sitting here talking about is just for educational purposes and general knowledge. And whatever we talk about, if you want to get further understanding, you need to talk to your doctor about it.
That's correct. And we're going to be talking about some supplements, and so the FDA has not approved supplements for any use whatsoever. They are just supplements, and they're not approved for use to diagnose or treat health issues. But they do have research behind them, on that. So thank you, Nene. So
here we go.
For suggesting that. So I've got a handout available on my website on the Learning Center, prevailovercancer.com. Learning Center, down toward the bottom of the page is this handout. It's going to be there for about a week. Next Thursday, I'll put up a new one for next week's handout. So jump on that and get that now. My email clients, they're going to get a copy of this in an email so they can get it also. And then also we're going to have recordings of this available. I'm downloading that. It's also at hyperbaric.plus, and then several different platforms that they've got hooked up, on their program too. So you can watch this in many different ways and share this information. So the downside, and I'm just going to barely touch this, but the way these medications work, increasing GLP-1, is they basically make it so that you're not hungry. And if you're not hungry, you don't eat, and so therefore blood glucose goes down, but now we start running into some starvation type issues. And so we get too much weight loss, and actually, extremely drawn faces. We lose muscles, in our body, throughout the body, all the large muscles. There's even people we can almost tell by looking at a person when they walk past us and we look at their rear end about, maybe they may be taking GLP-1s because they are losing too much muscle. So, but there's natural things that we can do for this. So, and why this matters is that the GLP-1 does help with the body to make more insulin, to work better. And so that's a problem with insulin resistance, diabetes type 2, is that there's not enough insulin or it's not working right, so it can help to make more of that. It suppresses glucagon, that's another sugar. It slows gastric emptying, and so that means, so by slowing that, that means we don't get the spike of the blood glucose. If we absorb too much glucose at once, our blood sugar goes up. When blood sugar goes up, that's when we start making visceral adipose tissue, VAT, and we start getting fatty liver. And when the blood glucose is high, insulin goes up. We keep doing that day after day after day, after year after year, we develop the type 2 adult onset diabetes. But that still comes back to the body fat type of a thing. Also, it gives us a satisfied feeling so that what we eat is working. and so we quickly become full, and we don't have to keep eating. Oh, matter of fact, that's another reason why I did this. Yes, Nene, you helped kind of get me going on it, but then I had 2 clients this week already that they were complaining, Keith, and these are clients with cancer, I'm having a hard time not eating. I'm eating too much. I can't stop. And so this is part of the reason why. So that's what this is geared for, is to help us to be more natural in what we're doing, and to have that satisfied feeling.
Now, when they came to you with that conversation, was it because they're eating too much and they're still losing weight, or
No,
because a lot of cancer clients, that's what they're trying to do, is not lose that weight.
Well, they can get to a point where they lose too much weight,
Right.
because the cancer cells are burning off too many calories. So yes, everybody's different, and we have to adjust that program for each person. So some people do run into a problem of having too much weight loss, too much muscle loss, and things like that. So we do have to be careful about that. So this is not necessarily a recipe for everybody. And
Hey, Tara?
with that. So also, we want to also, by increasing GLP-1, it reduces inflammation. And so, my specialty is cancer, but we're also talking about today about dementia and sleep problems, all types of things. So, but inflammation is a driving factor for cancer and for even Alzheimer's and dementias. And then also it helps the beta cells in the pancreas to do better and to survive. So many different things on that, and importance of having the GLP-1s, increasing it naturally. So that's what we're going to go into. So GLP-1, they're finding out it does help reduce the risk of diseases and progression of diseases. So metabolic diseases like diabetes, being overweight or obesity, cardiovascular disease, heart attacks and strokes, chronic kidney disease, that's another area that you all concentrate on a lot here. And so, matter of fact, another person here at our table, she's having some success. Her kidneys are getting better. And so it's really neat to see, see that happen. And then dementia, neuroprotection, and cancer metabolism. So this is a newer area. There's not a whole lot of information about it, but GLP-1 does help with lower insulin, lower inflammation, lower visceral fat, all of which are risk factors for cancer. So this is almost more like a cancer prevention or early stages of cancer. But if you are overweight, this is an area that we can do these things. Now, I'm not overweight, but then I actually have been doing these things for years. And this is the reason why. So actually, I weigh 30 pounds less now than I did 30 years ago. And mainly by doing these type things. I didn't know this is one of those ways it works. Now, this is not the only way either. So GLP-1 is one of these ways. So GLP-1s also, they increase the production of small chain fatty acids. And so those fatty acids are actually fuel for the good bacteria. Those good bacteria make anti-cancer chemicals, make brain chemicals, metabolism, fatty acids for energy, many different things. Polyphenols in these foods also help with L cell stimulation. The L cells are inside the lining of the intestines that make all this good stuff. So it actually helps the gut to be healthier.
And doesn't it also tighten it up?
Tighten it up, leaky gut.
Yeah.
If you don't think of leaky gut type of a thing, yes. So it also, these ingredients in these foods that we're going to talk about also help with fiber production and helps with it slows down the carbohydrate absorption. So as you know, if we mix in that fiber, it just slows the exposure of the sugars into the cell walls, and the lining of the intestines and the cell walls, and the absorption of those carbs.
So if we are going to sit down and eat carbohydrates and protein, in what order do we want to eat that?
So yeah, so therefore, we actually want to have, oils and protein first, and then salads, and then carbs.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so
Right.
that is one of those tricks. That is correct.
Because we can lower that absorption so much if we do it
Exactly.
in that order.
That's correct.
A lot of people don't know that.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
And so, eating a salad first could be okay, definitely, so long as the salad dressing doesn't have sugar.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yep.
so
And they all do.
No, most of them do, unless you're making your own.
You know what my salad dressing is? Smashed up avocado.
Not
and
those sardines.
Smashed up sardines and or salmon. And, the cans that are pre-cooked. And then I love spice.
Mm-hmm.
And then I put that on a bed of lettuce. And I mean, it is so darn. I make myself hungry every time I talk about that.
That's right. So,
It is really good.
yeah, I love the sardines and salmon
Mm-hmm.
type things. Matter of fact, for trail rides, I'm taking those.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect for eating.
And an avocado. You just mix it up. And
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a great
awesome.
option. Great option. For that. So, and timing is important, and we're going to talk more about that too. So, I almost thought you were going to steal the show. So,
Oh, I'm going to be quiet. I
yeah,
just,
he said, no. Matter of fact, I'm kind of watching it. I can tell when he's getting ready to talk. So
yeah, I kick him.
So, okay. So, number one, high fiber foods. And so we do need to have those fibers, in our system, to help slow down the absorption of foods. And so oats could be done, but oats, we have to be very careful about oatmeal and oats because they also are kind of starchy. And you have to be careful about that quantity. So those of you that are eating oats, my oat recipe would be more like a steel cut oat, boiled oats, olive oil, protein powder, nuts and seeds, and berries. And so, but that doesn't mean that you eat 4 cups of food. Okay, you still got to be careful with that quantity, with that. So the palm rule, those of you that follow me know, I have a palm rule, 3 palms of food for a meal, including if you do that oatmeal, okay? So that means more like half a cup of oats and then a cup of these other things at the same time with that. And other high fiber type things like barley, but how many of us eat barley? Okay, so it's a grain, but it's if it's the right type, it's a whole grain. And so, if it's truly a whole wheat, that could also count. But the problem is, who's got whole wheat?
And where are you where do you eat barley?
Right.
What's going to be made out of barley?
I forgot. I left that on here. I took a couple things off because it's just not normal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not really doable type thing. Psyllium, psyllium would be an option, and some people that can mix some psyllium powder. That's a natural product. Chia seeds, flax seeds, and then one of my favorites is actually lentils and beans. And those, even though those are a little bit on the starchy side, so long as you don't put the rice with the beans, along with oil, and then I even put a few more hemp seed hearts on that. It's a perfect meal, and it will not spike, but it even helps fill you up so that your GLP is going to be higher. So, as a matter of fact, everything I'm talking about today is GLP. I'm not really going into the negative things. We already know what that is. It's the sugars and alcohol. We have to be careful about some of those things. But I'm just talking about the good things today.
So you always say beans and lentils. So when I go to the store, there's lots of beans and lentils. So which kinds are the best beans
good.
and lentils?
I'm glad you mentioned that because I don't have that on the handout. But actually, there's 3 beans that are really the better ones. They're not as starchy. And so that's going to be black beans, kidney beans, and pinto beans.
Okay.
Those are the 3 best.
Okay.
The others are more starchy, and some of them are like bad. Okay, so we have to be careful about. Do you know what kind of beans are baked beans in the United States? Baked beans are different, but they're actually a white bean, and they're very starchy.
Wow.
And then what do they add to the baked beans? Sugar, and molasses, and lots and lots of sugars, and fructose and things like that. So So baked beans are not on my
You know what
kitchen.
I add to my beans?
What?
Tabasco.
Okay.
That's about it.
And so there could be some benefits to that too. So, okay. So resistant starch foods, number 2, and including cooked and cooled potatoes. We still have to be careful about the quantity, okay? But by cooking a starch and cooling it, matter of fact, even doing beans, matter of fact, that's one of my favorite things I like to do. We fix a pot of beans, refrigerate that, and eat it the next day. It's not going to raise your blood glucose as much as the fresh cooked beans. So refrigerating that, same thing with potatoes, sweet potatoes, other things like that will also lower that. Green bananas. So if you have a green banana, it is already resistant. The riper it is, as a matter of fact, other fruits are similar, the riper the fruit, the greater the glucose availability and the higher your blood glucose will go. And then beans and lentils again, okay? So it comes back to those. It can be resistant. And so beans and, there's a lot of studies showing that in the blue zones where people have a tendency to live over 100, there's a social aspect, their social life, relaxed life, and beans, are like key factors.
A lot of those Mediterranean salads have a lot of beans in them with olive oil, and so not sugar dressing, olive oil.
My favorite dressing, olive oil and vinegar.
Right.
That when I go to a restaurant, I'm not getting those other things, and so and some restaurants may not have great options on those, but I still will get the vinegar and the olive oil, even though they're maybe not the best.
Yeah,
ones.
that olive oil's in a 5-gallon drum.
Probably so, but that's better than
sugar. Yeah,
than the sweetened salad dressings on that.
That's why I don't get olive oil in a restaurant, though. I mean, the restaurants are trying to make money, so they're gonna put the ingredients out there and make as much money as they can. I get it.
And then fermented foods also help out. Fermented foods will increase the fatty acids, the good fatty acids that are in the intestines, and so that includes, but be cautious about this. So kefir or kefir is a fermented milk product, but many of them still have lots of carbohydrates, especially in the United States. And so they actually will ferment that to a certain extent, and then they pasteurize it, and then they add live cultures to it. And when you look at the number of carbs, it's still way high. It's comparable, similar to milk, maybe half as much carbs as milk, but still a lot of sugars. So therefore, the true kefir that's been studied for cancer benefits has a totally different bacteria strain that they do in Europe. The United States typically doesn't do that. There are some that are good. Yogurts can be great. One of our partners, that's a lot of times Josh, he's not here today. He's got, and you do this too. So,
Josh got me hooked on it. A lot of my clients are making their own yogurt.
Homemade yogurt. And so a great option. And so that fermentation actually completely digests the carbohydrates. Is that yogurt sweet?
No, not at all.
Exactly.
No,
so
it's sour.
It is sour because there's no sugar in it, because those bacteria ate away those sugars.
Now, everything put aside, that totally good raw honey takes a little of the sour away, so I put a little honey in with mine, and then I put walnuts. And I love pomegranate. I put pomegranate in there. Golly, there's your sweet. I won't use honey if I've got pomegranate.
Yes, pomegranates are, to me, addictive.
Oh, they're awesome.
I love them.
Yeah.
And actually, they're very good. We're going to talk more about that.
Oh, good.
In a moment, too.
Okay.
So kimchi and sauerkraut and other fermented vegetables, so long as and just be cautious about the quantity of salt. So excess salt. So fermented vegetables like pickles don't really quite fall into this category, okay? So that's just too much salt. But then most kimchis and most sauerkrauts I do like. It depends, especially if you get them at a health food store. Some of the others that are canned, I'm not going for that. So, but kimchi and sauerkraut, matter of fact, that's something I'm probably going to make this afternoon. So some homemade sauerkraut, which takes a couple of weeks to ferment. on that. So, matter of fact,
I say it takes a couple of weeks to rot.
well, not really rot. It's
I know.
actually still crunchy.
I know,
so
but
it's not rotting.
when
but-
you open up the fridge, it doesn't smell like
yeah,
that.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's correct. On that.
That's
So-
fermentation.
So, matter of fact, many years ago, now I think back and, first time I heard about kimchi was actually on the TV series MASH. And actually, they actually were taking cabbage and putting it into a pot and burying the pot in the soil, in the dirt, and letting it stay there for a few weeks or a month, and then bringing it back out and eating it. And at the time, 40 years ago,
Yeah, didn't know
when I was
anything
watching
about that.
I was like, man, that is weird, But that was a great, that was and is a great food.
They were making their own mash.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, non-alcoholic.
Yeah, I get it.
Non-alcoholic. In that case,
I was going after the name of the movie.
the show.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, exactly. So, we used to have contests of watching that show, and who could first, at the beginning of the show, who could say what the tagline was going to be at the end of the show? Because they had almost like a
Which line was it?
what is their final line about society and relationships and things like that. So
Half your audience doesn't have a clue what we're talking about. I'm just saying. Anyway, go
probably
ahead.
not. Yes. So okay, number 4. So three was fermented food. Number 4 is polyphenols. I didn't put my watch out, so I don't have my time. So Ryan, be sure to let us
there's
know
clock.
about the time. So okay, let me know when we're running short on time. So number 4, polyphenol-rich foods. And so polyphenols literally stimulate GLP-1 secretion and protect the L cells in the intestines. So these include your berries, that like adding that to yogurt and other foods, your pomegranate, extra virgin olive oil. And so I want to stress, I do try to go organic, and as much as possible, try to get those better olive oils. That's a whole nother seminar. But in fact, one of my tricks that I do, and we talk about this, I want to make sure I don't forget this, so I'm going to mention it now, is for my clients that have cancer often, I'll have them take their polyphenol supplements along with olive oil 15 minutes, at least 15 minutes before they eat. And so the olive oil and the polyphenols are going to get into the system, stomach and intestines, and they will slow down the absorption of the carbohydrates via this method. Actually, when I started this a couple of years ago, I didn't realize this is the way it's working. This is one of the ways it works. But it increases the GLP-1. It slows down the absorption of the carbs. And then also these polyphenols also slow down it slows down the cancer cell's ability to use glucose.
Now,
And-
when you keep talking about polyphenols at this level, are you talking about a capsule form, or are you talking about
No, even foods.
foods? Okay.
Yeah, even foods.
Okay.
Even foods. Yeah, there's
So
studies
you're going to
showing-
eat food before you eat.
Yes.
I'm just making sure what we're talking
Yeah,
about.
we're going to go into supplements
Okay.
too. Yes,
Yeah,
we will
okay.
go into supplements.
Okay.
Yes, but like eating or drinking that olive oil at the beginning of the meal is going to help decrease your absorption of the carbohydrates. Okay, so it is a weight loss program.
And hopefully you're full before you get to those carbohydrates and you just put them aside.
Exactly. That is part of the goal. That's the goal. Or I was raised, my grandparents and my parents, you had a meal, and matter of fact, at least once a day, you had a dessert after the meal.
No.
We were just raised that way.
Yeah, and
and which is wrong. That's one reason why we're in this state that we're in. Okay, and so that's just wrong. And matter of fact, it didn't used to be that way, and so food was not that common. And so we live in a society where food is so readily available. Okay, and then even citrus type items could be an option. So then think of this: one option would be to eat a small snack of doing things 30 minutes or an hour before it's time to eat. Matter of fact, we've known for years, and matter of fact, we talked about holiday tips about what to do before going to a party. Eat a snack before you leave, nuts and seeds, for example. It makes you full. Well, this is the reason why. The polyphenols on those skins of the nuts and seeds help increase the GLP-1. Cocoa, cacao, dark chocolate. It needs to be a good one, not a milk chocolate, but at least a minimum of a 70% cacao. Green tea and red grapes. So green tea is one of my favorite type things. I drink green tea, but matcha is maybe even 100 times better than green tea. So 'cause you're drinking the tea leaves, not just the infusion, not just the extract of the leaves. You're actually drinking the leaves. And so that ground up tea leaf is my favorite. And have to be a little bit more cautious about the red grapes, because grapes are a fruit that literally does have sucrose in it. It does have sugar. And I've actually seen people, I've had clients that were literally gaining weight because they were eating too many grapes. So we have to be careful with that quantity. The palm rule. As a matter of fact, on my website, I have a palm rule for cancer foods guide that you can download. As a reminder, also, I forget to say these things because we do this every week. If you have questions, submit those questions. Ryan's going to print those off so we can go through those questions at the end of the seminar. And then also I'll answer questions after the seminar on the posts, on the social media posts. And let's see what else. Oh yeah, go to our website, prevailovercancer.com, Learning Center, or hyperbarics.plus, hyperbaric.plus to download this handout for this seminar.
That's PLUS.
PLUS.
Our logo is a plus sign, but our URL is .PLUS.
Okay, nuts. One of my favorite snacks, and I'm all about nuts. I have a shelf of nuts in my cabinet, and I have my backup supply in the refrigerator. Just kind of be cautious about the temperature, trying to keep them cool. Nuts and seeds can grow fungus mycotoxins, so I'm trying to store those carefully. And so, but I eat 2 servings, maybe it's more like 3 servings of nuts and seeds every single day in my time period that I eat. And so, so nuts and seeds are very important, but walnuts, very well studied. They actually are studied better than most. Pistachios, almonds, pecans, depends on where you're at, pecans, whatever. We have a lot of fun on social media posts about that one, and even hazelnuts. All of these, they slow the gastric emptying. They give us a satisfied feeling. They're fats, they're fibers, the polyphenols. So it's a perfect food, to eat. I'm not concerned about the lectins. Rarely is that a problem. I don't soak them. I want those polyphenols. If you soak the nuts, you wash those skins off, you're losing the polyphenols. They will not work for GLP-1 that way. So we've got to have those polyphenols. That's the dark covering on the nuts and seeds. Very important. And then leafy greens, we talked about eating before a meal, or even a salad would be one option, but eating a salad before you start that meal is a great option. So they slow down the fat digestion. And matter of fact, there are also bad fats, and I'm not going into this. I said I wasn't going to mention the bad things. Processed foods, I have to mention it. Processed foods, if it's in a package, we need to be very careful about that. Those processed foods have carbohydrates, chemicals, and processed fats and oils that will keep our body from making GLP-1. We're going to be hungry again. We're going to have to eat again. It creates nutrient deficiencies, so many things, so that we're going to have to eat again. If we eat too much food, we're going to gain weight.
You know how many people I take back to my little refrigerator where I bring my lunch? And you open it up, and there's not one thing in there that has more than one ingredient.
Okay, good.
So when you pick it up off the shelf, if it has more than one ingredient, put it back and go find something else that you want to eat.
I saw a container of mac and cheese. I did a post 2 nights ago about, or two days ago about this. There was more like an instant mac and cheese. All you have to do is add hot water to it.
Can't imagine.
After 25 ingredients, I got tired of counting how many things were in that.
Crazy.
There were more than 25 ingredients in that mac and cheese. Not only that, but it was in a styrofoam container. You're pouring the hot water, you're baking that. It's bad. Anyway, so
there's a better way.
I said I wasn't going to talk about negative things, but ultra-processed foods is why young people are getting colorectal cancer or colon cancer and colorectal cancer at an early age. That is one group that the cancer is significantly going up. So because of processed foods. So leafy greens are very important. Sweeteners that also can increase GLP-1 is allulose. And so that's one of Josh's favorite things, that allulose improves glucose tolerance, and it gives a satisfied feeling. So Josh, that is a lot of times here, he likes to make an ice cream, and then he'll eat that ice cream, and that ice cream gives him a satisfied feeling, and he's not hungry. So, so allulose is definitely okay to take. It's a newer sugar. I'm a little bit cautious about it. I want more information, but allulose is definitely an item that we can use, and there is some science behind it.
Man, if you got a sweet tooth, though, I make my own after Josh got me going on it. So I make my own, and I'll leave a container. And I mean, I'm making it a quart at a time, maybe probably 2 quarts at a time. And it'll set in the fridge. It'll be in the freezer for a week and a half, because 2 or 3 teaspoons at the end of dinner, that's dessert.
Okay.
And it's satisfying.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so sweet and creamy. And because I usually eat a half a tub. If I eat regular ice cream, I eat a half a tub of it. So it's not allowed in the house anymore.
Yeah. Well, that's what we don't have ice cream in our house.
That's how I do it, is with the allulose. So anyway.
You're great. Okay, and then back to legumes again, beans and lentils. And so, matter of fact, we mentioned 3 beans that were good earlier, but any lentil is good.
Okay.
And so it doesn't make a difference. And that's something in the United States we're not good about. Yeah, we just don't do lentils that much. All the health food stores have them. People fix them. I have to admit, I'm not an expert in that. Yeah, we definitely do the beans, but I haven't been doing the lentils. Fruits. And so fruit can also be good. Apples have pectin in them. Citrus has hesperidin in it. Berries, pomegranates, and pears. And so, matter of fact, so we do want to try to go organic as much as possible, and because of the coatings, that they put on that, or the pesticides that are on that. As a matter of fact, so they're growing the apples and the pears, they spray those, and then they put a wax coating on it. So even if you soak a traditionally grown, pesticide-laden apple or pear, you soak it in the baking soda and water, you're not getting rid of the wax, you're not getting rid of the bad stuff. But if you peel it, now you're not getting the peels that have all the antioxidants and the polyphenols. So you do want to try to go organic as much as possible. But even with that, you may want to, those waxes that they use on organics are natural waxes. And so those are not known to be a concern. Okay, supplements. And so let me check the time. Okay. And supplements that increase GLP-1 include berberine, one of my favorite things. I have it listed first, but berberine increases GLP-1 and improves insulin sensitivity. Inositol, matter of fact, we've used that for many years. Inositol, and there's actually quite a bit of research now going on GLP-1 with polycystic ovary concerns. And so it helps out with blood sugar, insulin signaling, and hormone balance even. So we're talking about both myro and chiro for those of you that are familiar with those different types of inositol. Magnesium. Magnesium is something that most of us are not even close to getting enough magnesium. And so magnesium also helps the vitamin D to work better. So, so many important things about magnesium.
Now, which is the magnesium you always recommend? There's so many different kinds.
I like magnesium glycinate.
Yep.
It's better absorbed, does not require much stomach acid to be absorbed, so you can take it with or without food. And it's not terribly expensive. Lots of companies make it. There's some citrate. Actually, we use that and oxide to help people to have a bowel movement. So it may have a tendency to create looser stools. So it depends on health concerns on that. But glycinate's my favorite. Probiotics, lactobacillus and bifidobacteria type strains also increase GLP-1. Those are just normal good things. And then green tea extracts, e.g. CG, stimulate GLP. I mentioned that about green tea and matcha, but these capsules of these polyphenols can help out with GLPs. Curcumin increases the body's response to GLP-1 and reduces inflammation. Quercetin also enhances GLP-1 secretion, and resveratrol improves GLP-1 release. So, matter of fact, most of you that follow me in our community know about all of these supplements. And these are the products that I typically recommend doing about 15 minutes before eating with olive oil. And so a lot of times we're trying to be careful about how many carbohydrates. So talk about eating the berries and oranges and apples and pears before a meal. Probably not enough, polyphenols in those have a dramatic impact. but you can definitely take some of these supplements with olive oil, to have a dramatic impact. Matter of fact, I've tested it with myself. So I can actually take the combination of the pathway supplements with olive oil and then have my beans with olive oil and a half a cup of broccoli or some kind of a vegetable in that. And actually, I like to put pecans. I put pecans in with those beans, have a cold bean salad, test my blood glucose 2 hours after that, and my blood glucose is actually lower than it was before I ate. The perfect situation.
Yeah.
And so, matter of fact, once again, so a couple of my clients this week were working on ketones, trying to go into ketosis, and that's one of their challenges. So doing these things before we eat helps lower blood glucose levels via GLP-1 and slowing the absorption of the carbohydrates. Lifestyle strategies. And so intermittent fasting, which is another thing that I do recommend. Matter of fact, interesting studies showing even years ago, I had people with type 2 diabetes, and I was only able to convince a few people to do this, but there's research behind it. People that do a week of fasting that have type 2 diabetes often get out of diabetes by fasting, and it just reboots their whole system. It's hard to do. Another person talked about his fasting that he did and some great results that he's had with his cancer challenges, with that. But our body is made to fast.
Now, a lot of diabetics, they can't do that because they do crash. So how do you manage fasting with crashing?
They do crash, but we have to be careful, and therefore you have to do it with medical supervision. And some of them are also taking medications. Therefore, we have to be extremely careful with medical supervision with that type of issue. But also our body, we will crash to a certain extent until we start burning fat for energy. Then that changes the game. So for example, I'm fasting now, so we're almost at noon. So I'm fasting 17 hours now. And so now I'm not hungry. A couple hours ago, yep, I was hungry because I was kind of crashing a little bit. Now I've flipped a switch and now I'm burning ketones. Now I'm not hungry. So that's the whole purpose of fasting, is to kind of reboot the system so it will function better. So intermittent fasting, exercise. So matter of fact, I think the camera's far enough back, and so we can do things like just do heel raises, and that's what I'm doing right now. After eating, 5 or 10 minutes of heel raises while you're sitting burns off calories and helps lower your blood glucose. Gentle walking can work. You have to do a lot more of it. For some reason, this type of a heel raise and pumping the calves seems to work better. Vibration plates, you've got that with your red light program. A vibration plate, another great option for exercise. So physical activity helps burn off those calories, but it helps improve GLP. Aerobic resistance training all help out with even receptor availability and responsiveness, meaning the receptors work better to accept the GLP-1, which makes us feel more satisfied and not as hungry. Sleep, better sleep, short sleep reduces GLP-1. Simply put, okay? Longer sleep increases GLP-1. And that's one of the things we're talking about, tactics to do in the chamber. What can we do to improve our sleep? I used to pride myself that I didn't sleep very much. I was working and cranking stuff out.
I feel guilty oftentimes nowadays. I go, man, I'm sleeping too much. I need to get with it, but it's so important that I don't change.
So so I'm doing everything I can to now make a point to get my at least 7 hours of sleep. Stress reduction. So reducing stress, and therefore cortisol levels are very important. So chronic stress will decrease GLP signaling, and reducing stress. And one of those things we're talking about with everybody that's in the chamber is things like therapeutic breathing. I call it therapeutic breathing. There's actually many different ways of doing that. I have a guide on my website about that, but intentional breathing and meditation does help out with that. And just a closing. So the GLP-1 is a powerful metabolic hormone our body makes. And so we can do it with all these great food choices to increase the GLP-1 naturally. It's going to help out with appetite, insulin sensitivity, inflammation, brain health, kidney function, and cancer-related metabolic pathways. So trying to get our body into a ketosis or ketone type area. So, okay, so we got questions. And so So what initially drew you into this work, and what keeps you passionate about it today? Thank you. So what drew me into this work was actually my family history. So I had a pharmacy in a small town, and my father was diagnosed with prostate cancer. His father, my grandfather, had prostate cancer. Now my father has prostate cancer. So at that time, believe it or not, the internet was just becoming available to where I could access some of the medical journals. So I started reading the medical journals. There's a government website that has all of those in there. I started reading it, and it was diet and lifestyle and a few targeted supplements. It was reduced.
Could change the course.
Change the course of cancer and the risks of cancer. And so and that's what kind of got me started with it. And then I decided that, I started going to education programs geared for pharmacists, and got certified in several different things in natural care for pharmacists. And then finally, I became very frustrated with medicine, with dispensing pills, and because we were not addressing the underlying issue. Mm-hmm. So a person would come in with blood pressure, and I was helping. Matter of fact, I won an award first in Oklahoma for consulting, a new type of an area for pharmacists to do things. I redesigned the pharmacy especially for this and helping patients. I didn't even dispense. I had technicians that were doing all of that. So I was just supervising that. But I was talking to patients and helping them with their blood pressure. They were coming in with their blood pressure, and it lowered the blood pressure, treat the symptom. 5 years later, they were on 2 blood pressure medications. 2 years later, they were on 3 blood pressure medications. Then they had a heart attack or a stroke. They were not addressing the underlying problem. Mm-hmm. And then I had one client that, he had an elbow or a shoulder problem. So he said, Keith, what do I need to do? I said, well, take some glucosamine. So he took glucosamine, came back 2 months later. He said, Keith, look at this. And I have to admit, I didn't know who the guy was. He said, you told me to take this glucosamine. I don't have arthritis anymore. Actually, there were studies many years ago in Germany about how effective glucosamine was at rebuilding cartilage. And so I thought, okay, I've got to get out of this. So I said, God, if you want me to get out of this and go into natural things, I need somebody to buy this pharmacy, and which is not an easy thing to do whenever you have 2 discount stores across the street from you. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so, so it's kind of hard to do on the same corner. And actually, within 2 weeks, a guy came in and said, Keith, you want to sell your pharmacy? Yep. So God provided.
That's called a sign.
That's right. That's a sign. So I jumped on that. So, that's how I got into it, and then passionate about today because I just want to help people. As a matter of fact, we had a great testimony today from another person that was in the dive about how well his cancers responded, and that's great. That's fuel, for me, just to help people to learn and keep doing things with that. So are beans basically nature's Ozempic, or is that oversimplifying it? Well, it's probably oversimplifying it, so we have to be careful about that, but yeah, it's part of the tools. Matter of fact, I don't rely on just one thing for anything. I'm going to do everything I can, as many things as possible, to help, try to lower, these chemicals in our body or improve the GLP-1s. So, which is the best form of magnesium in cancer? So typically I'm going with a magnesium glycinate, and because it's easier absorbed, and if it's absorbed, it's not going to create loose stools. If you get loose stools from magnesium, that means that you didn't absorb it for whatever reason. So is there fiber in beans? Is the fiber in beans doing the heavy lifting, or is it more about resistant starch and the microbiome piece? Yes, it's both. Mm-hmm. And so actually, we get more fiber when we refrigerate the beans. So it's both. And so, so beans, once again, are a great option. So what do you think, which do you wish more people understood before they start down this path? Let me pause just a second before they start down this path. How important
nutrition is. I mean, I mean, that's just the starting point. People don't, I can't tell you how many clients you and I have worked with, and they came back to me and they said, I went and talked to Keith, and all he talked about was food.
Yeah, that's right.
They wanted pills.
Yep. Correct. And so, so matter of fact, even on social media, I'm pushing nutrition first because that's something that really doesn't cost us anything. We have to eat. We have to make the right choices. And so that's why I start off with nutrition. pills can help out, but I'm trying to go more nutrition above everything else. So start off with nutrition, eating right. I have the Palm Rule and the Cancer Food Tactics Outline Guide that I use that have got basic guidelines for the all these types. As a matter of fact, all these foods we talked about are on that list.
You know how many people walk in here their first time, they said, hey, I heard hyperbarics will help with anti-inflammation. It'll help reduce inflammation. I go, yeah. I said, so jump in. Let's take a ride. So we get out, and they go, man, so this is what I need to do. And I said, well, I got to ask. Now you know what this is all about. But if you get out of here and go eat pizza, you just negated what you spent on the chamber. So if you're still eating sugar, bread, noodles, pasta, I mean, all those things are simple carbohydrates. And if you're going to continue that, you don't need to be doing this.
Yeah, wasting your money.
Yeah, that's not the best way to spend your money. So
that's right.
Anyway.
Yes. So is there a point where too much fiber actually backfires and hurts GLP-1 response? I didn't see anything about that in the research, about too much fiber being a problem. Matter of fact, most of us don't poop enough. We should be pooping minimum once a day. Other mammals, they poop several times a day. The only one that doesn't do that is a sloth.
That's because they're not moving. That's right. So anyway, I got how many of my clients, mostly women that come to mind when I have this conversation, they've been constipated their whole life, and they've got cancer.
Yep.
So
the problem is, see, if we don't have enough bowel movements, we don't have enough fiber. First of all, fiber traps the bad stuff and eliminates it, including estrogens that can cause cancer. And so we have to have bowel movements, frequent bowel movements, to flush that stuff out. So we do need more fiber. So I don't know of anything, I've not seen anything where too much fiber could be a problem, but I'd probably say that you need to gradually increase that fiber.
Well, it would constipate you if you had too much. I mean, that would be the telltale sign that maybe I'm taking too much fiber.
Taking too much, or not the right combination, or something not quite right.
Yeah, that would be a red flag. That, hey.
And that could happen, and definitely that could be an issue, yes. So, but you kind of gradually make changes with fiber. So if you get gassy, constipated, or too loose of a stool, you need to back off a little bit and make more gradual changes on that. So I think they're saying glycine isn't recommended for cancer patients, ? I think that's what the spelling's a little bit off on that. I think you're talking about the amino acid glycine, L-glycine. And so cancer cells actually can use any amino acid for growth. It uses vitamins, minerals, fats, oils, carbohydrates, anything. But L-glycine is one of those amino acids that cancer cells actually do like. But the same thing with arginine and with L-glutamine. So we still have to have some glycine. Actually, it can be very important too. So we do have to have it. It actually is a little bit of a calming and energy at the same time.
Well, Keith, we're pushed up to not as much pushed up to the hour as I've got a crowd coming in ready to get in the chamber.
They're chomping at the bit.
Yeah, so why don't we call this a deal? And again, just a tremendous amount of information. There's a couple of questions we didn't get to, and you'll answer those
online.
And I just learned so much, and today was just awesome having somebody give us some feedback.
Yeah,
that 18 months ago they had tumors. They were dealing with prostate cancer, and they chose to go a natural route. And because you can watch the PSA, that is your guide. That's your roadmap. As long as that number continues to go down, I'm doing the right things. And so when you're dealing with that type of cancer, that's just an easy thing to follow. And see if you can't turn the corner before you go and do something, that's irreversible.
More invasive.
More invasive.
And also, that person was working with their team and being monitored. So it wasn't just like blindly hope this works type of thing, but be wise, in your decisions and start making changes.
All right. Well, hey, thank you again, Keith, with PrevailOverCancer.com, a world of knowledge and very affordable. I'm blown away how many of my clients work with you, and you're very easy to work with. It is very reasonable, and what do you spend in nutritional supplements
Oh, yeah.
that you're doing wrong? You could be paying Keith to whittle that down to, hey,
That's
maybe
correct.
you're overdoing it.
That's correct.
So anyway, really good knowledge base there, and thank you for being involved with us. I'm Paul with Prevail Over Hyperbarics. I'm Paul with hyperbaric.plus, and look forward to seeing you all next week. We'll go from there. Thanks, Keith. All right. Another